Security breach is an excuse for a game, but before we knew about this experience, I'm not gonna call it a game. There was one character that stuck out and was teased far more than anything else. Going back to when VR was still in the public eye, we got a Five Nights at Freddy's game on some of the headsets. Partnered with Scott was a small VR developer team named Steel Wolf Studios. In the game, there were hidden lore tapes, and these tapes explain a dark story, which in short, laid out bits of lore, including Scott Cawthon is canon. A dude cut his face off. But mainly out of these bits of lore was a lil bro named Glitchtrap, who appeared in your game and watched you like EDP looking at 9-year-olds.
That was the most commentary YouTuber joke I could have made.
Glitchtrap is one of my favorite designs of any FNAF character ever. This guy looks cool and had some endings in the game that heavily alluded to him being important in the future. Oh yeah, you also get to talk to this little plushie who's melting a bit less than Mitch McConnell. This is not a politics joke. I just think it's funny that this guy looks like he's about to have a stroke. Boom, a teaser for Security Breach. And also Vanny in the top right corner a few days later. Vanny surrounded by screens like the Help Wanted teaser or in this trailer, a knife in her hand, glitchy flashes of her in the trailer, a red aura accompanying her at all times, a creepily auto-tuned voice. Vanny is portrayed as an evil human being mind-controlled by Glitchtrap, and from what it looks of the trailer, this would have been a full storyline of FNAF with a AAA twist on it that would have been filled with storytelling and this evil character being a human for once instead of the animatronics who for more or less looked as if they were only a stepping stone for this unassuming security guard. The game was a cover-up for the deep secrets that lay beneath the Pizzaplex, and where we would be spending most of the game would be the deep dark.
We spent the whole game in the bright atrium.
I want you to close your eyes and imagine you're cold inside a trashed sewer with a flashlight sat right next to you. The tunnel expands in front of you and you see two red eyes. Hopefully your first instinct is to say, obviously this thing is evil, because all red eye things are bad guys. Second though should be your fight or flight response, and you better believe you're not gonna fight this thing unless you're a Super Sigma. That joke wasn't scripted. That was practical. That wasn't a CGI joke. So you run. Your heart is pounding. Now stop. Stop imagining. Stop thinking. Imagine you stayed overnight in a hotel. You do that anyways. Hotels, you stay overnight in a hotel. Image you're at the top of a floor of an Embassy Suites. It's all lit up, and a guy with a knife walks in on the very bottom floor. You're pretty sure he's not the Usain Bolt. So you stride away and find the nearest stroller and hop inside, because he's not gonna find you. Now compare these two scenarios I set up. This is the two versions of Security Breach. The tunnel is Vanny, the darkness, the good emotional storytelling, at least I think, that's just a prediction, but it looked like it would have been cool. I mean, you got Vanessa like crying in the trailer, so that's something, and the wretched musty underground. The other is the current Pizzaplex we have, with the game focused on the map rather than the aspect that it's supposed to be an entertaining video game. Throwing all the misleading graphics, misleading motion blur, and misleading story aside, this dynamic alter-egoed character Steel Wolf made and hinted towards in every single scrapped scene is in a total of 5 minutes of screen time, and not a single line of dialogue or scene, except for this one it's just a walking animation, was used. I want Steel Wolf to give me that original version, that original plot, and the problem is they still could have done that. Ruin gave them an opportunity. Vanessa is still supposedly around, and Gregory's still here too. Just keep Glitchtrap alive and say you took a little Corey Kenshin break.
Alright, guys, be sure to subscribe.
Steel Wolf threw it away. They had fans. They had the whole thing set up for them. They had the build-up, and they tossed this rabbit aside and said, let's include this awesome-looking, lore-ending, environmental storytelling room, because normal dialogue and telling a story through cutscenes is too much, because Ray McCaffrey just likes seeing animals get beat up by race cars and big buckets of balls. The Princess Quest room confirms Vanny is gone. Glitchtrap is gone. After no real beginning, no screen time or story, these characters are tossed aside. Yes, Ruin is much better than the main game. Is it scary? No. Is it much better gameplay-wise? Yes. But does that fix what I had such an issue with Security Breach? No. It gives you a band-aid, puts some salt in it, and puts it on your dog bite and says, let it simmer just a bit longer. Not to be a little egotistical little guy. but I could have made a better security breach. I'm not lying. I'm sure the Steel Wool devs are pretty creative people, but listen to me when I was going to make a whole video rewriting the entirety of security breach, but I realized it was a bit of an undertaking after the first 2 pages of the script. I do have some ideas that I still have written down though, to improve the original game and Vanny's impact on the story. Imagine the game starting with a hiding segment where you're scared of Freddy and you have to navigate something without him finding you. Then he finds you and you realize, oh, Freddy's a cool little dude. Throughout the game, you could show how the animatronics are mistreated like zoo animals and are almost slaves to their performance. Show how Vanessa is constantly battling glitchtrap and Vanny taking her over, having segments where you have to quickly switch gameplay styles because your training wheels turn into an evil rabbit. It would have to be way more linear, and to compensate for the added content, or for more or less the removed content, shrink the pizzaplex down massively. Deliver on what you show, have the same graphics as you promised, have motion blur, and make some good game design. This game needed more scripted moments and soundtracks to fit the situations. Make gameplay segments like Ruin, but more difficult and scarier. Make a story game where things just don't randomly teleport. When it turns 6 AM, much earlier than you would expect, Vanny should have grabbed you, knocked you out, and the game just gets started with the underground. Everything here would have only emphasized hinting up to Vanny throughout the game. I don't think Steel Wool will hear any of these ideas or any of these criticisms, because for some reason most people think this video game is at least tolerable, and because the only people who Steel Wool listens to is people who praise them. Just look at their channel page. They just love Daco. This isn't made to hate on Steel Wool, even though I've been hating. Vanessa is just an arc they had written out and scrapped it for God knows why. I just want good FNAF games.
Yeah, what that guy said.
I want a change. Everything has just been animatronics, and we had the perfect opportunity to have a female antagonist that is human, that also has a knife. If you take anything from this video, it's that you gotta commit to the hype you build, and at least live up to the standards you set. Do not get Leon Riskin to make this banger music for the trailers, and get people who know what they're doing to edit them, to have the end result be a completely separate game. Case in point, I wanna see Gregory cry and Vanessa to have mental health problems and be borderline suicidal.